Hi guys and welcome to the channel. Today I'm bringing you some competitive Battlefield 3. It's not anything super serious. This is actually an ESL Versus game. So what's ESL Versus? Well, the ESL stands for the Electronic Sports League, and it's a website where you can join teams, you can play in ladders, and they also have a really cool matchmaking system called Versus. So you can play lots of games there. You can play League of Legends, Battlefield 3, Counter-Strike, Call of Duty, pretty much any competitive game you can think of, then you can play it in this Versus thing. And this is really cool, and it's sort of on topic as well, because the matches feature for Battlefield 3 is actually being released tomorrow. So if you haven't heard about the Battlefield 3 matches feature, basically it's a system on Battlelog where you can invite players to a party and set up the servers, set up your match configuration. If you want to ban flashlights, if you want to ban tactical lights, you can set the number of players. So is it 5v5, is it 2v2, and you can go at it basically in a competitive sense, in a match format where you can set all the rules, play a match, and it's all recorded on Battlelog as well. So you can see who played well, who played bad. You can see where you could potentially improve, and it's really cool. I think they're going to have like a ladder system on there as well, so you can separate the men from the boys. But yeah, that's coming out tomorrow, so if you're interested in that sort of thing, then you definitely should check out the matches feature. Up until now, however, if you wanted to play like a competitive game in Battlefield 3, I guess you had to sort of organise it yourself on IRC, or just by messaging people and getting on the server and restarting the game yourself. Or you could use this thing called ESL Versus, which is what I've been playing on. And I've got to give it to the ESL. They've actually created a really neat feature here, because up until now, it was the only sort of way for, you know, say for example, you didn't really know anyone in the competitive scene and you wanted to play some matches. It's sort of the only way that you could get involved with this sort of thing. It's pretty simple as well. You go on the website, you create an account, and you click on the big Versus at the top, and that'll put you in the queue, and it'll party you up with some of the guys that are looking for a game. It'll wait until there's a server available, put you all in a nice little lobby, and you can start the game. You also run ESL anti-cheat as well, so you know that you're not going to be playing against any dirty cheaters or anything like that, which is cool. It's nice to have some more protection apart from just Punkbuster, because Punkbuster isn't the best of anti-cheats. I think it does a good job, but it's nice to have ESL while they're sort of monitoring your PC and taking screenshots and checking that everything's legit. So yeah, ESL Versus, go and check it out. It might become redundant because of this matches feature, but you know, people like playing on the ESL because it's sort of in Europe anyway, it's sort of where the top teams are in Battlefield 3, the top players. Everyone plays in the ESL Cups, the ESL Leagues and the ladders, and yeah, it's just a nice platform for everyone to get together and compete against each other. So what are my thoughts on competitive Battlefield 3? Well, I've played quite a bit recently, and I'm getting to know some people in the scene, potentially going to attend a couple of LANs that are coming up as well. And I think it's a good competitive game, but there's obviously a lot of stuff there sort of holding it back from being, you know, a really good competitive game. One of the most obvious things is that it doesn't have a spectator mode or like a battle recorder function. So if you want to watch matches, obviously the person that's playing has to record the game and then upload it to YouTube or Twitch or whatever, or stream it, for example, and then you can watch it that way. But not everyone has a good enough PC to be able to do that, so it would be nice to have some sort of global spectate function, so you could watch the match, and commentators could stream it and commentate on it, and that'd be really cool content for people to watch live. So it doesn't have a battle recorder or a spectator mode, which pretty much the best competitive games have, like Counter-Strike, Source TV, COD I think has a sort of spectator function in there as well. So yeah, it really needs a spectator mode. What else? Client-side hit reg is, it's not terrible, but it doesn't really punish the laggy players. The laggy players actually probably get a bit of an advantage. I know it sounds really dumb, but that's the way it is, and that's my experience. Like with the client side hit reg, you die a lot around corners, and you shoot people around corners, and that's sort of bad for a competitive game because you're not getting an accurate representation of where players are. So that's sort of holding it back as well, and I don't think that'll be changed because you know that's Battlefield sort of reworking their entire engine, so that's not going to happen. A couple of other things as well. The client side props and the, you know, like on some levels, like there's boxes on the floor that you can move around and pieces of paper. They're actually client side, so on your screen you might be hiding behind a box, but on the bad guy's screen he might just be able to see you directly prone out in the open, out in the middle of nowhere. So that really needs looking into. Maybe they could make like versions of the maps where all the clutter and all the particle effects are gone, so you could have like a competitive version of the map. It's something that the developers of CSGO are actually doing. In CSGO there's SE versions of the map, so that's a version of the map where all the clutter and all the rubbish is just cut out and you've just got the basic bare bones layout of the map. And that's really good for competitive gaming because it really brings it all down to skill rather than luck. Obviously there's always going to be a bit of luck in competitive gaming, but if you can move all of that out of the way as much as possible, then yeah, that makes a good competitive game. So maybe competitive versions of the maps to be released, but I don't think it's going to happen. What else? Oh yeah, the things like I know it's really stupid and it's a game design choice that DICE have gone with and they're going to stick to it, but for a competitive sense it doesn't work. Like the noises that your player make. So you can't hear what your player says, but if there were a guy around the corner and he threw a med pack, you would hear him say, "Oh, here's a med pack for you." Or if he threw a grenade, you would hear him scream, "Throwing it at him," or something, you know, something like that. You can hear there's contextual audio in the game, and it gives your position away. When really, you know, you don't want to give your position away because I know it's not, Battlefield 3 isn't a realistic game, but if you were on your own and you saw a group of enemies in front of you and you went to throw a grenade, you wouldn't scream at the top of your voice, "Here's a fucking grenade for you," would you? You'd just like throw the grenade and just hope you came out of it alive, whatever. So yeah, that's also a problem as well. What else? I mean, some people say there might be some balancing issues with the guns as well. For me, the M16A3 is obviously the best weapon in the game. The AEK is probably a close second. So at the moment, all you've got in competitive matches is people running around with M16A3s. Occasionally, you'll see an AEK in there as well. This is just for infantry play, by the way. I am not an experienced 8v8 or 6v6 player, you know, when you've got the jets and the tanks. I haven't really played any of that in Battlefield 3 or Battlefield 2. I just love infantry combat, and that's what I do. So I'm just talking about infantry here, so sorry if I offended any 8v8 Battlefield 3 players. I'm not into that sort of thing, and there are people who are way more experienced than me at that, like Daskro, for example. I'm sure he could teach me some things about 8v8 or you know, the big conquest game modes where you've got vehicles involved as well, because I would be pretty useless at that, I think. Yeah, so are there any other things? Oh yeah, but the weapons, like I said, the M16. If you don't use an M16 or an AEK when you're in a competitive match, then you're stupid. You're putting yourself at a big disadvantage, basically. So why wouldn't you use it? Yes, I know the M16A3 is probably getting a nerf. I think they're going to increase the reload time to make the reload longer, and also increase the vertical recoil on it. So I don't think that's confirmed, but maybe some balance issues there as well. There's also the suppression. That doesn't really fit into a competitive game, but again, it's a design choice that DICE have taken, and they won't remove it out of the game. It's something a bit different as well. I mean, there probably are other games with a suppression effect in, but I've never played one with a suppression effect. And I think it's at a level now where you don't really notice it that much as an infantry player anyway. I think recon players who are sniping from long distances probably do notice it, but you don't really get recons in competitive games anyway. But the suppression effect, maybe they could take it out just for the competitive maps, or have it as like a server-side option. Maybe that would be the way to go. But DICE stick to their guns, and they, you know, some people like the fact that there's a suppression effect in there. Some people think it gives players with bad aim an advantage because they miss a load of bullets and then the player's suppressed and he can't flick around and instantly use his skill to kill the player that's missed a load of bullets on him because he's suppressed. But yeah, that's the way it is, and I don't think that's going to change. So you can complain about it, I guess, but I don't think that will ever be removed from the game. Yeah, and I think that's pretty much my only qualms with it. I mean, it does need a matchmaking system, but it's getting that. And I'm just trying to think off the top of my head, are there any other things holding it back? Yeah, I mean, like I said, the particles on the map, like the dust, sometimes you can see someone but they can't see you. Again, that's a game's design choice, I know, but then there's no way to turn that off as far as I know anyway, so you're stuck with those particles on the map. Apart from that, it's good. It's a good competitive game. It's fun, it's enjoyable, it gets my heart racing, and it's a nice change. I mean, Battlefield 3 is still a new game. It came out, what, end of October last year, 2011, so that's like 9 months, whatever. And yeah, it's still a relatively new game. And, you know, competitive games, look at Counter-Strike, for example. I mean, that came out in 1999, and you still get big tournaments for that now. So age isn't really a problem. And as games get older, they introduce changes, they introduce you know, good things that are going to make them better, things that are going to make them worse. They look at the feedback, and it's all change, and it's all adapting your game to your audience. So yeah, we'll see. I mean, maybe BF3 will come out as a really good competitive game eventually. You just don't know. At the moment, it's good, but it's not perfect. But that's okay. That's not necessarily a bad thing. It's all a learning experience for the developers, and we're here to sort of document that and give them feedback, and hopefully whatever game they come out with next, or the patches that they bring out for Battlefield 3 are going to be good. And yeah, it's gonna make a nice, enjoyable game that we can play. We can compete. We can play in public matches. We can go to LANs, and yeah, it's just really, it's a great thing. A lot of positivity, I guess, coming from this video. Even though I have listed some negative things about the game, I very much enjoy Battlefield 3. I think it's a good. I think DICE have done a great job of creating a fun public game that can be enjoyed across all platforms, on consoles and PCs as well. Yeah, it strayed away from a lot of the good stuff from Battlefield 2, but the times are changing, and you know, some of the stuff that was in BF2, I don't think it would necessarily work in BF3, but I think they've done a good job of bringing the game up to date with 2012. Some people will say it's dumbed down, it's a dumbed down version of Battlefield, and people say it doesn't deserve the Battlefield title, it's just a console game that's trying to compete with COD. But you know what, it's fun, and I've played over 350 hours now, something like that, and I'm sure there's many people who've played like 800 hours that I've seen on people's stats pages, which is insane. So obviously DICE are doing something right. So yeah, don't forget, complaints, don't always complain. You have to look at the good things sometimes as well, and yeah, be positive about some stuff about the game, because it's good. It's a good game, no doubt about it. Okay, on to my Gamer of the Week section for this video. I don't have time to do a full video highlighting 3 people this week. I'm extremely busy with work and YouTube stuff, so I just haven't got the time. But if you want to see some great Battlefield 3 content, then go and check out these guys. The Gamer of the Week goes to Zycer. He's got some amazing Battlefield 3 content on his channel, and it already seems like he's building up a nice little fan base. But you know what? Give him some love. Every little helps, and he's putting some good stuff out there, guys. So go and check him out and give him some love. If you want to be considered for Gamer of the Week next week, then just leave a comment in this video and I will check out your channel. That pretty much covers it for today's video, guys. I know it's a long one, and I've talked and rambled on a little bit, but I hope it was entertaining for you guys. I brought you some cool competitive footage. We've got some Battlefield 3 stuff coming up, also more DayZ content. In BF3, what I'm trying to do is record stuff where I'm using interesting weapon loadouts. So essentially going into the game and using weapons that you wouldn't normally see, because I think, you know, M16A3 footage, it's fine for competitive play, but it gets a bit boring when you see it again and again and again in public play. So I've been trying to use what you guys think are the worst weapons in Battlefield 3. So, you know, purposely trying to make a bad weapon. SVD, for example, a lot of people said that was shit, so I've been using that in team deathmatch with like a crappy scope and putting out some good scores with it. So I'm going to be bringing you these videos and trying to explain how to use these weapons to your advantage. So if you're a bit bored of the usual M16A3, then you definitely want to check out these videos, because yeah, we've got some interesting stuff on there. A little story for you. I was on a team deathmatch, ripping it up with a UMP with a silencer. So, you know, I've completely nerfed the damage. The gun's pretty bad anyway, and I was doing really well with it on team deathmatch, and some guy actually called me an fag. That's a new one, never heard that one before, but it just seems in Battlefield 3 that if you're doing well with a certain weapon and you're dominating people, they'll always call you out on it. So yeah, I was called an fag. Number one, you shouldn't use fag as a derogatory term, because, I mean, I have no problem with homosexuality, so, you know, using it as a negative connotation, that's a bit shit, really. It's a shitty thing to do. But yeah, I got called an fag. Feels bad. I cried about it, and I've really had to reconsider my actions and use different weapons now, because the is obviously overpowered, especially when you have the silencer on it. You shouldn't use it. Yeah, so don't use the because people will call you out on it. Thanks for watching the video, guys. Rate it if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you like this sort of thing, and I'll see you in the next one.